What is up? We're here with Kathryn, CEO, founder, badass. Tell us a little bit about you, Kathryn, and stress expert.
Well, first, thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
I'm Kathryn Fantauzzi. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Apollo Neuroscience. And I have spent the last 6 years working on a technology that uses low frequency vibration that's clinically validated to manage stress. And along the way, I've learned a hell of a lot about stress management. And I've also seen, I've seen a lot of people be helped, and I'm also learned a lot about my own stress and other people's, and how it affects how we act and how we feel, our immunity, our resilience. So I'm just happy to answer any of your questions, because I know we're going through kind of a crazy time, and I'd like to help however I can.
Yeah, this is obviously, what got you interested in stress, and why do you think it's important that people manage their stress?
Well, so the first thing I would say is that despite the last name, I'm actually mostly Irish American. And something people probably don't know about the Irish is that we don't actually talk about our feelings that much.
No.
We're pretty stoic community. And so when I grew up, I didn't grow up in a touchy-feely house. Mindfulness was not something we did. Feelings weren't something we did. Crying was not something we did. And so, for me, a long time part of my life, I'm like a high achiever. I'm a little bit type A. I work really hard. And if you asked me 6 or 7 years ago, I'd say things like, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And like, I don't have time for that. I have work to do. And, what I realized over a period of time is that when I was not recovered, when I didn't sleep well, when I didn't treat myself well, then I wasn't as productive, and I wasn't as good at focusing, and I wasn't as good at doing my own work, and I wasn't also very nice. And so what I realize when I look at the people around me, my family, my friends, what I saw is that a lot of people feel very stressed out a lot of the time, and they don't necessarily call it stress. Right? So maybe they're not sleeping well, or maybe they're gaining weight and they don't know why, or maybe their stomach hurts all the time, or they have headaches, or they feel nauseous, or they get colds all the time, right? And what you see is that people, or they're sore. A lot of people describe that they're tense, or they're sore, they have muscle aches. If you look at, I haven't had a TV in years, but when you look at ads, it's literally like indigestion medicine, heartburn medicine, sleeping pills, depression pills. And when you look at almost all of those things, if you are stressed, you're predisposed to getting them. And if you're stressed, they're worse, and you're less likely to recover. And for a while I thought, how the heck is that normal? How is it normal to feel stressed out all the time? And so I ended up working on Apollo because I was asked to by my co-founder and my husband, who's a psychiatrist and a neuroscientist. And he works with patients with PTSD and chronic illnesses that were looking to not take habit-forming medications. And what he found is that meditation and mindfulness and biofeedback were really great tools in clinic, but then when people went home, they had a really hard time in doing them. And what's kind of like the unfortunate cycle is that the more stressed out you are, the harder it is for you to do the things that help your body recover, because your body ends up in this cycle. And so
4 hours, sorry to interrupt you, but doesn't it take like 4 hours for your body to calm down its system to like get away from that fear, fight or flight response?
It can take a while for your body to settle down after you've been under an acute stress. There are some ways to accelerate how quickly your body recovers. And so there's really two major things with stress management, right? One is to avoid it, right? So avoid unnecessary signals of stress, right? So there's things we can do to do that, right? Like not consuming really stressful stuff right before bed, not waking up and immediately signaling to ourselves that we're under threat by staring at the news, or immediately looking at our email first thing in the morning. Like there's so many people pick up their phone and they're on Slack, or their messages or their email before they've even gotten out of bed, and so, that, which sets a tone for the day, right? It sets a tone that you're literally chasing or running all day. And so there's that part. But then there's also the fact that life is stressful, right? And right now during this particular epidemic, there's a lot of stress that people have that's warranted. Like, you can't just, not all of us are just going to like sit in the sun all day doing yoga. Like, we've got things to do and we've got mouths to feed, and there are parents at home with kids and they're working from home, and some people have been laid off, and that's real stress. And so there's ways to help your body recover faster. And so some of those things are regular exercise. Exercise is amazing for sleep. Exercise helps you sleep. I mean, don't do it right before you go to bed, but it does help you go to sleep. The other thing is breathing exercises. So breathing is extraordinarily helpful. And one of the reasons for that is that when you feel stressed, it's literally like your body and your mind are telling each other that you're under threat and you need to run away. Right. And when that happens, your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, your breathing goes up. And it's very hard to settle down when your body is going, we don't have time to sleep. There's a bear outside the tent. It's time to get the hell out of here. And that's really what's happening. And so breathing helps your body recover, because you taking the time to take that slow breath or to do a breathing exercise literally signals to your brain that you're safe. And when you feel safe, the body regulates itself. So you'll feel your mind clear, you'll feel your heart rate come down, you'll feel your blood pressure go down, and your breathing will start to slow. And that's because you're giving yourself a chance to recover. And when you give yourself a chance to recover, you're more resilient to stress when it comes. So sleeping well and eating well and taking care of yourself is really important, because it allows your body to be resilient when stress appears, as opposed to letting it break you.
And I think so many people allow stress to break them because we don't know how to cope with.
Well, and it's not even that. I mean, it's just very natural. It's like fear is a response that's been built by evolution to keep us alive. The problem with a lot of this stuff is misappropriated fear. It's like, okay, fear is something that's immediately going to hurt me, or fear is something that is something I got to deal with right now. But the problem is that because we're constantly stimulated with light, with noise, with, news, whatever the heck it is, there's a million little threats that are constantly, even though they're not necessarily like a cute, like a bear kind of threats, your body still perceives them that way.
Right.
And then you don't get a chance to bounce back from them because you're constantly being inundated. It's like if you drove a car and you never put gas in it, eventually it would stop.
Right. Or if you put so much gas in it, that's just negative fear, and eventually it just explodes.
Yeah. Or you put like garbage gasoline in it.
Right. Right. Putting like diesel in your Ferrari. It's all
yeah, exactly. And you're like, why did it stop working? And it's like, well.
Right. So what kind of things should people be doing in order to manage their stress?
So, I want to acknowledge that the pandemic is really real, right? So like that stress, that there's this unknown thing that has disrupted our lives, is real. And so the first thing is to acknowledge that it's real, right? And I think for a lot of people, community is going to be super important. So like understanding who are your friends, who are the people you really care about, where's your support network, and reach out to them. Even if you're isolated in your house, use the internet, connect, talk to your friends and family, talk to your mom and dad, talk to your grandparents, take care of your kids. Like, I think one of the things I've noticed is that people are connecting with the people that they love more than they were before.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really important, in the era of social distancing, it's really important to connect and feel loved, because that's really important for your mental health, but it's important for humans in general. Like, we need connection. We're a connecting group. Aside from that, don't drive yourself nuts. I mean, that's like the main thing, that we can control sleep. We can control how we focus our attention. And I think remembering the things that you do have control over empowers people to feel a lot less scared.
Yeah.
And so maintaining routine is super important. Connecting is super important. So just because like you don't have to go to work, or hopefully you haven't been laid off, or you have been laid off and now you're like, what do I do? Aside from like getting your basic resources together, you know, like moving every day, exercising every day, or as much as you can, any kind of movement. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be some sort of marathon runner or bodybuilder, but just some movement is really important. And eating well and not driving yourself nuts. Like a lot of people are consuming news that is very distressing constantly. And when you're constantly do that, you're literally sending a signal to your brain. You are under threat. You're under a threat. There's a threat, and you don't have any time to recover. And so those are some things. It's just avoiding stuff that's going to drive you crazy that you have no control over.
Can you explain this bad boy that you're wearing on your wrist?
Oh, sure. So we were talking about accelerating recovery, and that's kind of what Apollo does. So what Apollo does is this wearable. You can wear it on your wrist, you can wear it on your ankle, but it's not like other wearables. So most wearables track you. Apollo doesn't track you. It actually just helps improve your body's response to stress. So if you think about a kid who's crying and a mom or a dad or a loved one hugs the kid and the kid stops crying, part of the reason for that is there's an emotional component to touch. So touch signals safety, like deep breathing signals safety, like meditation signals safety. And so when you do things that signal to your body that you're safe, then your parasympathetic, your rest and digest, can activate. So when you think about when you meditate or when you deep breathe, your heart rate comes down, your breathing evens, your mind feels like it clears, and you feel like you have more control. And that's because your parasympathetic, your rest and digest part of your nervous system that controls digestion and creativity and sleep, all of those things have a chance to bounce back and they allow you to control the fight or flight, the fear response, and basically have more control over it because you're more recovered, you're more resilient. And so the reason for Apollo is because not all of us are meditating all the time. Meditating is actually quite hard. Learning to meditate, like an experienced meditator, if you look at their brainwaves, it on average takes about 10,000 hours of meditation to be able to enter alpha brainwave states, which is the signatures for people who enter a true meditative state, which is very different than listening to like recorded meditation or something like that, which is calming. But when you really have to practice, and that's really daunting because we're not all Buddhist monks and we're not all have time in a monastery to practice meditating or praying all day long, right? We have jobs and we have kids and we have things to do. And so for people who have basically regular lives, I mean, I use this thing every day. Basically what it does is it uses low frequency vibrations, so sound waves that you can feel, but you can't hear. And what they do is they mimic the resonant pattern between your heart and your lungs when you deep breathe. So what it does is it signals safety to your brain. And so within a couple minutes of wearing this thing, it helps basically bring your heart rate and your breathing and your blood pressure down, and so that you have more control. And so essentially it gives you the benefits of meditation without you having to do anything. So you can use it when you meditate and it makes meditation better, and you can use it to help you fall asleep. And in conjunction with those good practices, but you can also use it when you're not doing those things. So like when your kid's yelling in the back of the car, when you're having to give a presentation, when you're doing something that makes you stressed out, when you have to look at some awful spreadsheet that you don't want to deal with, or pay your taxes, or whatever it is that drives you crazy.
Let's live your life.
Yeah, basically when you're living your life and you're not feeling so hot about it, you can use this thing, and within a couple minutes, it will make you feel more even, more in control. And so what it does is it has these goal-based programs. And so we set it up. So before we ever built this, we did about 5 clinical trials at this point. And
you and your husband.
What's that?
It's you and your husband, who is a psychiatrist.
He's a psychiatrist and a neuroscientist. He's actually a stress researcher who's been studying stress for 15 years. First on the cellular and molecular level, and then on the whole person level when he got really bored with cells. And so basically what we did is we tested this on 2,000 people before we took it out of the lab and after our clinical tests. And what we did is we designed this based on how people used it. So I don't know if you can see my screen, but has these goal-based programs. And so basically what it does is it takes you, like, if I want to say I want to feel energetic, or I want to feel clear and focused, or I want help meditating or falling asleep, you just pick the program and it starts. It essentially works like a body playlist. So if you think about a playlist helps you transition to a mood, Apollo kind of does that, but it's a scientifically validated technology that does it for your body. So, and I think the other thing to think about is it doesn't feel like anything else that vibrates. It doesn't feel like a cell phone. It doesn't feel like a massager. It feels like an ocean wave, like kind of coming and going. When you feel like this ocean wave that comes, it crests, and then it recedes. That's kind of how it feels. And that's because it feels very natural and people really enjoy using it because it feels like something that's inherent to us, which is the feeling of safety and the feeling that you get when you deep breathe. And the reason we developed it is because meditating is hard, deep breathing is hard. These techniques are really hard to do, and they're really hard to do when you're stressed. And so the idea is you could use this tool to help you learn to do those things and to use it when you're not going to have the opportunity to do those things.
Amazing.
What's really cool is when we see with our users over time is it actually boosts their resilience over time. So heart rate variability is this key metric. It's how much your heart rate changes with the environment. So if something stressful happens, your heart rate should go up, but once it's gone, it should go back down. What you see is that with people with anxiety, their heart rate tends to stay high. People who are tired or run down, their HRV isn't very good, it's low. And so what Apollo does is it helps to boost up heart rate variability, which is the same thing that meditation and deep breathing and mindfulness practices do.
So basically, the better your heart rate variability, the more you can manage that level of stress.
HRV is basically a key indicator of your resilience.
Amazing.
And actually, there's a couple of trackers, like people might know about the Oura Ring or Whoop, which are these trackers that people use. Even Apple Watch, to a certain degree, has HRV tracking. But elite athletes track their heart rate variability because if their heart rate variability is low, it means you shouldn't train that day, right? It means that you're not recovered. You might be getting sick. And now they're doing studies of HRV measurement with nurses and doctors if they're getting COVID.
Wow.
And so Apollo improves heart rate variability through your sense of touch, right? So it works with your natural response to touch to help your body recover from stress, which makes you more resilient.
I love it. And therefore, this can also help you boost your immunity, right? Because when your stress response is really high, it lowers your immune system.
Right. So in the way that stress management in general, like sleeping well, eating well, exercising, doing deep breathing can help boost up your recovery, so can Apollo.
Amazing. It's not easy, you guys, but you can do it one by one. So how do we find you, Kathryn? Where do we go to find more information on this? How do we contact you?
Oh, so you can go to apolloneuro.com. So that's APOLLONEURO.com. So Apollo Neuroscience, but short. You go on there to read about Apollo and how it works and the science behind it and the studies we've done. But you can also go on there to get a lot of useful information about stress management. So like particularly during this time, I've honestly been a little weirded out when I see a lot of the ads that a lot of companies are putting out right now. Some of it's useful and a lot of it's fear mongering. It's like trying to get people to buy things that they do not need or making claims like it's going to protect you from COVID. You know, washing your hands and staying away from sick people are going to keep, you know what I mean? And taking care of your
stress response.
right. You know, managing your stress response, like those things. So we've spent a long time thinking about how we can be really helpful right now. And so David and I have been working on, we're about a team of 10, but David and I have been working on basically sending out information about mental health and how to manage stress and get good sleep and improve focus through various techniques and how important that is for your immunity and your resilience. Particularly in a really stressful time like the one we're in now. So if you go there, you can also find a lot of useful information about managing your health.
Absolutely. Yeah, make sure you guys are participating in activities that help your overall balance and well-being. It's like a daily thing that we have to do, right? It's just like exercising. You have to like practice it. You have to wake up, you have to meditate, you have to drink water, you have to eat healthy food, you have to exercise, you have to check out this Apollo thing, but most importantly, you have to manage your stress so that you can balance your immune system so you don't get sick, because you can make yourself sick just by being scared.
Right. And that's one of the main things is that, this is real, but exposing yourself and acknowledging that it's real is important, but overstimulating your fear response by constantly engaging in the news or watch, like, even if it's just like looking at Instagram at late at night or looking at Facebook late at night or watching a scary movie or whatever the heck it is, being in front of a screen because you don't have to go work the next day or whatever has happened to disrupt your routine can disrupt your sleep cycle, make it harder for you to recover. And one of the reasons we developed Apollo is because, frankly, if you think about when you feel very stressed, the last thing you want someone to do is to tell you to calm down. When you feel stressed out and someone says calm down, all you want to do is like wring their neck. Like that's what you want to do. You're like, you calm down. You calm down, right? And it's because
Women.
you're so stressed out, women, but not just women, men,
Right,
all of us.
of course.
You know what I mean? You tell somebody to calm down, they're like, you calm down. I'm calm, I'm fine. And so like, no, you're not, buddy. You're freaking out, but it's okay. And so, we developed Apollo in part because deep breathing's great, meditation's great, exercise is great, but when you feel like crap, it's really hard to do all those things. And so Apollo is really there in the way that like you feel better when you get a hug from someone that you like when you feel stressed, or someone holding your hand when you feel stressed. It makes you feel better.
This is the best social distancing wearable ever.
Yeah, right. If you look at our usage rates, they are going up. It's like, oh my God. But it helps you fall asleep. It helps you wake up. It's really about balancing circadian rhythms and balancing your stress response so that you have more control. Because, all the things that you mentioned are really important, but when people are feeling really stressed out, they're even harder to do. And that's also like one of the things I think is so great about what you do is that you really try to connect with your clients and with your community to keep people motivated and to have a resource that they can talk to. Like I'd say what you do is very like whole person. It's not just like, get your booty on point. I mean, partly get your booty on point, but like it's also about using exercise to really heal yourself and to balance your stress response and to balance how you feel.
Yeah.
I really admire what you do because of that.
Oh, love you. Yeah, I think it's definitely all about holistic health and wellness. And even like when we start working together, it's like you need to be journaling and like writing down your feelings and like meditating. It's like it takes a lot of work, but you need to really be aware that all of this work that you're doing is going to keep you healthy and keep you well and make you a nicer, better person so that we can all get through this together.
Yeah, so, I think one of the first things you asked me is like why I got into this.
Yeah.
And it's because I have seen a lot of people and a lot of families and businesses and people I work with screw up their relationships and screw up their friendships because they couldn't control their stress.
True.
Like when you are stressed out, you act like a jerk.
Yeah.
And people will remember the negative much more than they remember the positive. Like a negative thing sticks in your head. And so like, if I can help people manage their stress and get better sleep and feel better, then that's the main thing for me. It's like, how do I use my skills to help people live better lives and to make the world a better place than when I showed up?
Yes, I love you. And I commend you guys too for this is such an incredible device that you guys have created. And I'm really excited to try it and to share this with other people. And in the meantime, guys, if you have any questions, please let us know, like send us DMs and comments. You can also follow her on social media. Yeah.
Yeah, you can follow me and you can also follow Apollo Neuro. And so that's at APOLLONEURO.com. We're on Facebook. We're most active on Instagram. But yeah, if you guys have questions, hit us up. We're happy to answer. And then the other thing is, David and I, we paused all of our ads during COVID. We're not here to sell you anything right now. We're using our expertise right now to be as helpful as we can, which is basically providing a lot of information about stress management and sleep and focus and basically how to manage and regain balance in a time of mass uncertainty. And so The questions that come in may end up being a content post. You know, maybe your question, if you have one, is probably a question that a lot of people have.
Yeah, absolutely. So make sure to send us questions, you guys. Send us DMs. Let us know what you want to know about in order to stay safe during this period. But from what I'm hearing from you, Kathryn, especially since you are a stress expert, is that you need to have a lifestyle that helps you balance your stress. Otherwise, you're going to get sick. And one of the best ways is to control your automatic response to like fear.
Yeah, I think one of the key things is like when a thought pops up in your head, the first thing to think about is that true?
Mm.
And then, okay, if it is true, is it useful? And if it is true and it is useful and you can do something about it, then think about what you're going to do to help manage that. If it's true and it's unuseful, then don't deal with it right then, right? Like some thoughts that pop up into your head at 2 a.m. might be true, but they might not be useful.
Mm.
So what are you going to do about it at 2 a.m.? Nothing. Go back to sleep.
Hopefully you're wearing your Apollo so you can go back.
Hopefully you're wearing your Apollo. If you're not wearing your Apollo, then like, breathing exercises or, maintaining your sleep. And I'm happy to talk about any of that stuff, but sleep is one of the most critical things for immunity because that rest and recovery is critical for your body's ability to bounce back from the stressors that have happened during the day. So treating yourself well, making sure that you go to sleep around the same time every night, you wake up around the same time every morning, even if your schedule's been disrupted, is really important for balancing your circadian rhythms and really giving your body a chance to bounce back, which is really important for resilience and strength.
Amen. Thank you so much, Kathryn. This was amazing. I really appreciate all of your insights and I don't know, this was just really great. So thank you so much. Again, if you guys have any questions, make sure to hit us up. Follow Apollo Neuro on Facebook and Instagram and their website. And let us know what questions you have so we can answer them and go live again.
Very good. Yeah, send us questions. I'm happy to answer them. Thanks for having me, Allie. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. You're the best. All right. Have an amazing night, guys.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.